Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Today y Mañana. I'm Alex. This is Michael. We're super excited to have you joining us on a beautiful morning here in Charlottesville, Virginia. It is the fall, but it is sunny. It is warm.
Summer just kind of like creeped its hand right back in. Maybe
a little bit
this week.
Especially when I saw that the weather, I think later today is going to be 80 or something.
Yeah, the high's like 80. It was yesterday, and it looks like it was going to be today.
Exactly. So you can grab you have permission for like one day to do an iced café con leche.
I know, because last week I did the show with Nick, and it was like really cold in the morning. I was like, you need it very hot.
Café con leche like extra hot.
Yeah, extra hot.
That morning. But this morning, the whole world option is available to you. So it's a fantastic day. We have two fantastic guests lined up that are going to be joining us shortly. We're going to be joined by Kailey Reid from Kailey Reid Illustration, a fantastic artist. Definitely a perfect guest for Halloween, as we'll talk about. And then later on in the show, Matthias Realty, who's just always a perfect guest at any time. Because it's going to be our monthly meetup with Matthias. So we are definitely excited for that. Be sure to send us any questions, comments, like and share the show this morning. Already got some people tuning in. Monica Miller from Montana tuning in this morning. She heard us say...
Talking about Montana.
And I guess... through the ether, the little paranormal telepathy.
Well, maybe Monica also heard Matthias was going to be on. So
that probably is the more realistic version of it. But on Halloween, maybe she had a telepathic communication to do so. Dr. Elizabeth Urpí says, sending a shout out to the best and most handsome podcast host ever.
Thank you, my sister-in-law. She was talking really mostly about me.
Mostly about you. I'm sure that had to be it. It couldn't be me. So like we said, Nicholas Urpí tuning in this morning. So be sure to send us questions, comments. Let us know what you think of the show this morning, and we will certainly read your comments and questions on air. That's what we're here for. Always, of course, love being here on the I Love CVille Network. Many thanks, of course, to Emergent Financial Services, our presenter, and to our fantastic partners at Matthias Realty, Charlottesville, Opera, Craddock, Sirius Insurance, Forward, Adelante. We appreciate all of them.
Exactly.
And that's why Today Mañana is here.
And I appreciate you, Alex, for always having your computer open and doing that, because fortunately, like when I host the show, I'm not on Facebook, so I don't see who's watching. So at the end, Nick is like, this person was watching. I was like, oh, thank you. But I feel bad because it's like, oh, there might have been a question. I was like, I missed it. I was like, oops.
That's all right. It's part of the job. You get used to it. You get used to it. I can't say.
I know you're looking at you're doing like two things at once. You're multitasking.
I have to say, I'm not there yet. But Jerry, I noticed on I Love CVille flagship show at 12:30, he's like triple tasking. Like I don't know how he does it, but he's got. You can just tell he's doing the show while giving his talk. The Facebook thing must be there, and then he's got the phone thing managed. I'm like, I would lose my mind. People would be like, why is he just staring down the whole time? And so it's I'm trying to learn from the master. So we'll see how that goes. But I don't know about you. I'm excited to jump into today's show.
Let's do it.
So we are very excited to welcome our first guest this morning. She is Kailey Reid from Kailey Reid Illustration. Kailey, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you on, especially on an awesome, beautiful Halloween.
Yeah.
For sure. So maybe for those who haven't met you yet, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you first became interested in the art world.
Oh, geez. Well, it's very much embedded in my family. Grandparents, parents are all in the arts in some form or other. So I've been drawing for as long as I can remember. My mom's an artist. Even my dad has quite some good skills with illustrating. My grandparents, like I said, great-grandparents. It's just always been there, I think.
Definitely in the blood.
Yeah, for sure.
In the blood, for sure.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And do you typically work with drawing? So, is it pencil or?
Mostly pen illustration, or at least it's my favorite medium. But I also do digital art, Photoshop paintings, that kind of thing. But yeah, pen illustration, 100%. Yeah. Definitely,
yeah. And so I know I was definitely going on your website, which people can check out. Well, I'm sure we'll get them all the details. Definitely a perfect how did you get into, I guess, that kind of vibe and that feeling, and then maybe lead us into how you ended up collaborating with Addams Fest, 2Ds, like the Addams family, because it is connected.
Yeah. Well, I think I've just always had a fascination with the macabre. I grew up loving Tim Burton movies like The Nightmare Before Christmas, like that kind of stuff. So again, somehow I think that's always been there. And I think I can thank my mom for that. Just, she's a painter and she's always done some weird, twisted kind of stuff. So again, I liken that back to family. I've always been a big horror movie fan, read a lot of horror too, horror video games. It's just all there. Yeah.
But your style definitely falls into the top. Like it's interesting because I recall from your website, obviously, some of your most popular pieces, the lamplighter, and so forth, and the was it the interior beauty?
Inner beauty.
Inner beauty, which is like I think some people, Judah's showing them on screen. It's the one where you see the back of a woman looking into a mirror, and the face reflected in the mirror is it's like a skeleton. And so it's interesting because it's not gory, ostensible, like in your face, where it's more like uncanny and slightly like, okay, this is a familiar thing, a woman looking into a mirror, a person lighting a street lamp, but there's just something off or strange about it. And do you feel like you've kind of perfected that over time as going in that direction?
I would say that nothing I've done has been perfected, but yeah, I think I've really found my niche, that sort of this crossroads between gothic horror and elegance in a way. But yeah, you're right. They're just doing these mundane things, but there's something very off about it. And I think that is what draws people. So yeah.
And where do you seek inspiration for your art? Do you kind of like from books, kind of just movies?
Lots of places. Yeah, books, movies. Actually, I'd say my number one is music. Yeah, I listen to music constantly, and sometimes I'll just sit there, put on some headphones, and just if I want to draw something but I don't have any inspiration, I'll just start listening and see if anything comes to mind.
And what are you listening to?
I'm a metalhead, so but all kinds of stuff. I like metal, I like rock, but I also really like jazz and Celtic music and classical music and all that stuff. But
so you see, you kind of like you're sitting in your room like in the dark with the music, kind of waiting for the
Not quite. I mean, I can't say I've never done that, but maybe sometimes I'm just driving and I'm just listening to music, and I'll just have an image kind of come into my head, and I'm like, ooh, that.
Interesting. Yeah, trying to do just spark something. Yeah. Like, what if? How interesting.
It's kind of funny at the Artist Minds World, because I remember my brother Nick, he was writing a book once, right? And there was a certain song from the Man of Steel soundtrack that he was like, he told me that he was listening while he was writing this certain part, and he kept listening to him writing it, and then suddenly he was like, he would just put the song on repeat because he felt like as he was listening to it, he was writing better. So it was just that song, like he said, like he kept repeating the song just to help him keep writing. So
I totally get that. I also write, actually, so I get that. I do the same thing with my writing as well as my art. So yeah.
You write like short stories or poems, or?
I'm actually working on a pretty big fantasy novel.
Oh, nice.
So it's been many years in the works, and then I've written some horror stuff as well. Just nothing is published. It's just mostly me doing it for fun. But maybe one day.
Sometimes that's the best part of it, is just to do it because you enjoy it. And then the interesting is I've always noticed that with the arts there is kind of that synesthesia effect where even if you're working in one medium like pen drawing, you're listening to a different medium or certain words from writing, they all kind of interconnect and can bring out ideas with each other.
Absolutely, yeah.
So how did you first, tell us a little bit about the collaboration with Addams Fest. I'm very curious how that first came about.
Oh yeah, it was wild. So I had the honor of being invited to showcase 3 of my illustrations in Rye, New York at the Rye Arts Gallery, Rye Arts Center, and it was Artists of the Night. So it was a Gothic themed. A bunch of artists came together And then they also featured the original works of Charles Addams, creator of the Addams Family, and the brilliant illustrator Edward Gorey. So when I got there, I was with my brother, my parents, and my boyfriend, and I'm looking around at all these fantastic artists, and I'm just like, what the heck am I doing here? But it was just, I mean, people would come up to me and they'd be like, so do you have your own studio in New York City? You know, I'm like, no. I'm thinking, I drew these on my couch at my parents' house, but maybe one day. But anyway, so the Addams Fest people, oh my God, they were so nice. And the part of the T. and Charles Addams Foundation, they were there, and they came up to me, and they were like, hey, we really like your work. Would you be interested in collaborating with us in the future? And I didn't know what that meant, but I was just like, yeah.
I don't need to know what that means.
Yeah, I'll say yes and then get the details later.
Yeah, they were so sweet, and we got in touch. We stayed in touch, and by that October, I found myself in Westfield, New Jersey, which is where Charles Addams grew up.
Okay.
And it was Addams Fest goes on for a couple weekends in October, or several weekends in October, and I was selling art prints and for the weekend, and my work was right alongside, once again, Charles Addams and Edward Gorey. So that was twice, and I was just absolutely floored by that. And then currently I have 3 illustrations in Westfield, once again, alongside Charles Addams. It's been mind-blowing knowing these incredible people, and yeah, it's really insane.
That must be really neat. So did he originally begin? I think most people, I'm familiar, obviously, that there was an old TV show and then movies made. So was he originally drawing these characters, or he was an artist in other ways, not just the Addams Family?
He was a cartoonist for, I'm pretty sure, the New York Times. And it's, funnily enough, from what I understand, the Addams Family didn't start off as a family. They just started as these different characters, and over time they came together as the Addams Family.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's pretty neat to think that he was originally kind of it was comics and illustrations rather than maybe that's the price of growing up, being born in 1992. All you know is that there were movies. I think there was an old TV show.
Yeah,
but it actually goes a little deeper than that.
But didn't there used to be a cartoon show, or am I wrong too? Or am I imagining that?
Possibly.
There may have been. I should know the answer to that. But
how could you not know?
I don't know. I'm so sorry.
What would you say have been some of the? So what are the pieces of yours that are currently there now? Like the 3 that are on exhibit?
Yeah, so Inner Beauty is actually over there, the original.
Okay, the original,
And I also have something called Predator, which is over there. I don't think I sent that one over, but it's on my social media and my website. And then the other one is, what is the other one? I've had a few art things this month because this is my month, for my art. And I'm trying to. I don't know. I'm so sorry. I'm struggling.
Yeah, no worries.
The third one, but
What would you say it is? Because I know, because obviously Inner Beauty, I think your website is probably your most popular piece. What would you say? I mean, because obviously they've been featured here. What do you think these people have told you, and what do you suspect draws people to that piece and some of your other most popular ones you didn't mention?
I've been trying to figure that out. The Lamplighter was a really big hit, and then I did Inner Beauty, and that was also a really big hit. And I think it's kind of what we discussed earlier about that whole familiarity mixed with uncanny. I think the maybe combination of gothic and elegance.
Yes.
So I can only think it's that, but I see people, if I'm at the Charlottesville City Market and I have Inner Beauty on display, and people will just go right up to that one and just stare right at it and comment on it, and people say all kinds of different things. And I mean, that's the beautiful thing about art, is it can mean so many different things to so many different people. So I may have one intention in mind, but it may mean something else to someone different. But I love that about it. So
And when you're drawing, how do you know, like, kind of like, first of all, like, how long does a process take for you? Like, how many times do you go through, like, no, this isn't right, and you have to, like, scrap it and then go through it again? And how do you know when it's kind of like, okay, this is finished?
Oh, it can take, it depends on the piece, but I'd say one of my generic 8.5 by 11 pen illustrations, I usually say 20 to 30 hours, but I don't know how accurate that is. I don't really keep time unless I'm being commissioned to do something. But I can't even tell you how many times I've worked on something and been like, no, and I throw it out. And then even occasionally I'll look back at it even up to a year later and go, I think I can salvage this, and then I'll finish it, and then it ends up being one of my major pieces, and I'm like, oh, that worked out. That was nice.
So never throw anything out.
Well, you never know. You never know. Well, I've always admired art in that sense because it's you know, just I love to write as well, and with writing you always have the advantage, particularly if you're doing it on a computer, that it doesn't matter if the final version even remotely resembles. I mean, you could just backspace, change this paragraph, change these words, and before you know it, you could have like replaced every word, and now your final version. But with a piece of art, you can't quite do that. You can't keep erasing it until it becomes something else.
You need to start writing on a typewriter. This way, you're kind of in that art mode.
That would definitely transform the experience, to be sure. So there is kind of a sense of finality that you're creating something on that page that has an existence, like a tangible existence of its own.
Yeah. Of course, digital art, you can do that a million times and fix it, and it's so much easier to edit. I'm not saying digital art is easy, but with fine art, it's a little more permanent.
What drew you to pen? Because I know you mentioned your mom painted. What drew you to pen as the medium?
I think, honestly, this is going to sound weird at first. My borderline obsession when I was younger with Tim Burton. I always admired the way he would do these scenes that were very muted in color, but then he would add a splash of like a bright color, usually red. So that's how I started. I just started doing a lot of black and white. This is when I was like 12, 13 years old. And then I would start to add in red to draw the eye. And I've kind of come away from that, and I've actually recently been thinking about going back towards doing that occasionally, just bringing in that one color. Yeah.
Oh, how interesting. So yes, he kind of inspired that tone, and then pen was the best way to kind of express that.
Yeah.
What would you call your favorite Tim Burton movie?
Oh, that's really hard.
Or at least a top 3, because I know he's done a lot.
Yeah. I'd say Sweeney Todd is way up there, and talk about muted colors with red.
I
think I've got to put Nightmare Before Christmas up there, just because that was my first Tim Burton movie, and I was obsessed with it when I was tiny. And then I'll just say Sleepy Hollow. That's another one, but it's hard. There's so many.
He has it. And I can see the Nightmare Before Christmas. Definitely, I can see the inspiration that you may have drawn from that over time. It's very different by the time it gets to to your art, but kind of that there's a sparseness, a similarity, something's a little off.
Yeah.
But it's not horrifyingly grotesque.
Right.
It's just, everything's just a little uncanny. And
exactly, It's like you see other people, they seem to act mostly normal, but then the world around them, it's like, it almost looks like, but it's like just something different, and you're like, like even like in Edward Scissorhands, it's like, this feels like it's real, but it's like, why does it also look like it's not real, you know?
Yeah, it was very liminal space sort of feeling from that movie.
Absolutely, exactly. Well, out of curiosity, you mentioned the lamplighter. What was kind of the inspiration for that? 'Cause I know that's the kind of the first one that I think a lot of people see.
Yeah, that one was kind of funny, actually. So I lived in England for a time. I was going to school over there, university, to study computer animation. But I was also working, and it was a kind of an office job sort of situation at this language school. And I had a really slow day, and I had some Post-it notes, and I had a pencil. And I just started to doodle on the Post-it note. And then I think I liked where it was going, so I brought my pens in the next day. And again, I had a really slow day, didn't have much work to do. And I finished it, and I was like, okay. And then I took a picture of it. I put it on my Instagram, and it was rapidly gaining likes, and which is something I had not experienced before. And I was like, what? Okay, all right. So then I continued on from there, the Victorian Odd Job Post-it Note series, where I researched various jobs, like actual positions in the Victorian era that people would take up, and made these weird little creatures. And he grew from that. And then I was being asked actually for the Rye Art Gallery show to make a larger version of the lamplighter. So I made an 8x8 version. And then I had another commission some years later, not even a year later, I think, to create a 36 by 36 inch version of him.
Much bigger than a Post-it note.
So I had to get a projector and put it on my wall. So I've done 3 versions of the lamplighter, starting off as a 3 by 3 inch to a 36 by 36 inch. Yeah.
He's down through it. He's definitely gotten big.
Yeah. But as for like where he came from, I don't know. Maybe subconsciously I was inspired by Slender Man, but now that I think about it, there is a bit of a Jack Skellington vibe to him too. Yeah,
a little bit. That's true. Now that you say it, I could certainly see that. And I think that's what it is. It's such a basic. What he's doing is so simple.
Yeah. I never saw him as evil. And most people, when they look at him, they're like, he's kind of creepy, but I don't get that he's evil. I'm like, no, he's just doing his job.
Exactly. Exactly. What he's doing is just the simplest thing, just light a lamp. If you saw him from far away, maybe you just think it was the outline or the shadow of someone doing, a normal person doing it. But because of how it is, it's like, oh, but wait, something's not normal.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's pretty neat. So anywhere else you're featured currently?
Yeah, unfortunately not for very long. I actually have a bunch of originals hanging at the tavern at Thistle Rock Mead Company, which fantastic mead. But they had a Samhain festival last weekend that I went to, and I got to talk to people about my art for a little bit, sell some prints. But unfortunately, it's only up through the month of October, so it's coming down really soon. And I'm at Simeon Market on Fridays, and I sell prints there. Not every Friday, it's kind of random, and Charlottesville City Market as well.
Okay, so
also random days.
That's kind of one of your featured places.
Yeah,
to be sure. Well, it's pretty impressive. And just I think people would get, especially this time of year, you can see why people would get a real kick out of it, and just to enjoy, because it's well done art. But again, with that, what I think is the best form of horror, which doesn't have.
Well, nothing too scary for us.
I've never been a too scary, too much gore, too much in my face. I tend to prefer, a lot of my favorite stories would be the ones by, like, there's some Latin American writers, Edgar Allan Poe, where nothing's like outrageous, but it just has a certain sense of like, this is too close to real to be comforting.
Yeah, I was that weird kid that was watching The Ring when I shouldn't have. I was probably like 8 years old, and I was like, oh, I love this. So yeah, I was that person. I'm still that person.
I'm sorry. I definitely, from that side, I can definitely understand it. I think something tells me Poe would be a fan. If you had lived in his time, you probably would have been illustrating his stories in the newspaper.
What a dream. I would, dream job illustrating for horror movies, or illustrating horror stories, or creepy fantasy kind of stuff. Oh, that would be great.
Absolutely.
I'd love that.
Absolutely.
I'd love it.
Well, Terry, this has been a pleasure. Where can people find you, learn more, etc.? Get some prints?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram, Kailey Reid Illustration. I'm same with Facebook, Kailey Reid Illustration. And like I said, I'm occasionally at the Charlottesville City Market on Saturdays. It's not set, sometimes I'm there, sometimes I'm not, but
people just got to get lucky.
Yeah, sorry. I wish I could be more consistent. And then I have my website, and through the website, there's actually my shop. You can buy prints online. It's limited right now. It's only 5 different types of prints, but you can find Inner Beauty and the Lamplighter there. And of course, people can always reach out to me, and I do commissions. I'm also a graphic designer, and yeah. Oh,
perfect. Super easy. So it's Kailey Reid Illustration, spelled Kaileyreid. Illustration. I assume people know how to spell that part. Kailey Reid Illustration on Instagram. And I think the website is KaileyReidDesign.com, or is it?
So I've actually got two websites.
Oh,
I've got a graphic design website and I've got an illustration website. I think it's KaileyReid.wixsite.com/illustration, but the links are in my social media. The links are all together. Yeah.
Keith's Instagram, you'll find it. Facebook, you'll find it, and it'll lead you where you need to go. Maybe down the rabbit hole. You never know. You never know. But Kailey, thanks so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.
Oh, thank you. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
And enjoy the evening.
You too. Thank you so much.
So as we switch from one guest to another, definitely got a couple of people tuning in this morning, which we appreciate. Ale Jose, thanks for tuning in. Mark Hunt, thanks for joining us this morning. We got liking the show, Aaron Cross, Kirsten Sanchez, Zachary Reed. Thanks for liking the show this morning. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Yeah, no, I mean, what can I say? Kailey's bringing them in. Dana Palmer, Melissa Norris Reed, thanks so much for liking the show and all the promotions and stuff this morning.
They will now all disconnect because I on the show.
No, never. That's the beauty of the show. We bring one group to another group. So it's
it was like the appetizer, now the main meal.
So it's from one great guest to another, as we like to say. Matthias, thanks for being with us on this Halloween morning.
You didn't dress up for Halloween?
No, today just.
He got that done last time with Oktoberfest.
Just the regular work uniform, right? A button down. Yeah, we look so boring. We should have dressed up today.
It's hard.
Maybe we're spooky enough already. Maybe we won't make it worse, right?
Maybe. We always do. My wife was doing with me that for Halloween for the kids to come in, she'll put on her white coat and she'll dress up as a doctor. And she'll be like, yeah, but you are a doctor.
But what I would get Elizabeth is get like that red paint and then splash them so it looks like she's got blood on her.
Oh, so like bad doctor.
Well, yeah, you never know, like some creepy doctor. Yeah,
creepy doctor.
I'm not sure your wife.
I mean, I wouldn't do that with her her normal. Her official coat.
Yes,
did a fake one. Do a creepy doctor. Yeah. Matthias could show some haunted houses.
All the houses I show are haunted. Are you planning anything as a family for Halloween?
Nah, Halloween's never really been too big for our family. We used to do trick or treating, but by the time we were like 12 or 13, we were kind of done with it. And our dad greatly encouraged being done with it because he didn't like going out at night and having to sit there while we trick-or-treated.
I would say,
I think you're too old for
our big tradition was watching a movie. What we would do growing up, there were certain holidays where, for some reason, we would always gravitate to just certain classic movies that we would watch every year on that holiday. So for us, it was always Arsenic and Old Lace, which is an old Cary Grant comedy.
Yeah, Frank Capra movie.
From the 40s? From the 40s. And basically, the plot of it is, it's a comedy of all things, but it's like one of those macabre comedies where he discovers that his two lovely old aunts are in fact poisoning people. Like they are poisoners. And so it's like just how he deals with, oh my goodness, my two lovely aunts on my wedding day, I had discovered that there was a dead body.
Yes.
In their house.
And then his estranged brother shows up, and his estranged brother basically looks like Frankenstein.
So that's been your yearly tradition.
That's been a yearly tradition. How about you guys?
Well, growing up, it wasn't a big deal, even though
quite as big.
A lot of those holidays are in Europe are being Americanized. So Halloween is omnipresent, I would say, but just in our family, it wasn't a big deal. But now living in the US, being married to an American woman, of course, and now we have a little daughter.
Is she going to be dressed up?
We are going to dress her up, yes.
Oh, what is she going to dress as?
She's going as a little milkmaid, a Bavarian
milkmaid. That's going to be so adorable. Oh my goodness. She was already adorable, dressed in her little dundle for Oktoberfest.
So actually, we're just going to use the same dindle
and add a couple things.
Pimp it up. That's easy enough. And she look cute.
It's going to be so cute. She is a sweetheart. She is a cute baby. The perfect little milkmaid, I think.
I think that's about the best part of Halloween that Matthias is going to get to enjoy too as the years go on. Like when the baby turns like 3 or 4 now, it's like, oh, what do you want to dress up as? So you get to make the costume, and then they get so excited about being dressed up. It's probably going to be wonderful.
Yeah,
a lot of work.
My neighbors, I have some neighbors down the street from me, and they have, I think this is their baby's second Halloween, but first where they could actually dress her up, and so she was like there was like a little Minnie Mouse, and they were taking pictures in the front, which is always such a beautiful part. I think that's for me, that's probably what'll be a really enjoyable part of Halloween.
Yeah.
You know, I think
well, then some parents also like to kind of like do like the trifecta. So it's like a baby will be like, from like, for example, a Disney movie, like one will be like Wendy. So the other one has to dress like Peter Pan, or the other one has to dress like Hook, you know, because it kind of wants a family kind of stay in a group. Like you're like Mickey Mouse. One will be, you know, like Pluto. Maybe the kid will be Pluto, and then the parents will be Mickey and Minnie Mouse.
Exactly.
Exactly. It's kind of fun where they kind of bring that together.
It's the beauty of this time of year.
But I think on the downtown mall, they're doing some Halloween activities.
For kids?
I think so.
That'll be nice.
The friends of downtown
CVille putting that together. They always do a great job, really helping to celebrate the season and the fall and just this time of year.
Are there actually any spooky houses in Charlottesville? Because I remember when we used to live in Carmel, they used to have something called like a spooky house. So that, you know, people will go and you pay, and then as you kind of walk through the house, like there'd be like jump scares and like people.
Yeah, like the haunted houses.
Yeah, haunted house kind of thing.
I don't know about Charlottesville, but there are many in surrounding counties. In Orange, you have one. I think more than one, and up in the valley, it's actually quite huge. Yeah, there are 3-4 haunted houses that I can think of that have been working on preparing that all year just for the 4 or 5 weeks that they open. They have been to several. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, you just have to be ready.
Yeah, not really our type of thing, really. You know, we did it once. It was like, yeah, that was fun, but we'll need to do it again. We're good.
You can combine it with going to a corn maze.
Yes,
I've seen several of those.
Corn mazes.
I think a lot of farms are doing that. Farms that in the summer or orchards, right?
Well, this time of year, I mean, the apple picking, the corn mazes, just so many.
Pumpkin
picking. Oh, so many like those beautiful things. You go out on a beautiful fall day. You're enjoying the weather, the change of season, and so forth. There's a lot of things you can do at this time of year, which are enjoyable. It's just you sense it. It's funny. You sense the changing of the season, and I think people kind of gets into your bones a little bit. You want different things. You start thinking about, okay, the end of the year is coming, the new year is coming. That kind of my father-in-law always say, winter is coming.
Well, especially in Montana, winter is
it's coming.
Winter coming means it's like 5 months of snow.
Yeah,
but isn't that what Halloween is all about, right? That pagan tradition of saying goodbye to the summer and welcoming the winter. Which, frankly, it's not winter yet. But
yeah, no, it's in Charlottesville, especially doesn't feel like it. But definitely the change of season, I think also it gives people a little bit that sense of unease sometimes, which I think can manifest in different ways, particularly when there actually is a lot of uncertainty on the horizon. But I don't know if you've been sensing it with some of your clients. We definitely have, with a lot of people like, can we talk after the? We actually have had a lot of clients saying like, can I make appointments with you at the end of November? Like, because let's talk after the election. Let's talk later on in the year. Because I'm uneasy.
Don't get me started. We all feel it. I mean, how often do I hear that sentence? We are going to wait until after the election to make a big decision. Or, I mean, just open up the newspaper and read about the global unrest. It's not really, giving people confidence in making big life decisions right now. I can understand it. Sure, it's a time of transition, a lot of shifts happening, a lot of uncertainty. You mentioned you feel that and you hear it in your family business. What is it? The stock market? Or
it's a lot because I think people always never know. Right, I think people never know which way the stock market's going to go, especially because you always don't know what the stock market's going to do at the end of the year or in the following year. But now you compound it with everybody. You got a lot of people that are just certain that if my person loses, the stock market might crash, right? Even though, like, I think we can look back and see a lot of times when, like, the stock market did the opposite of what people thought it was going to do.
It seems to always be irrelevant. I mean, let's be honest. If you look at the historical trends, it's like it actually never really
does that. Crashed, but there is this people can't escape the gnawing uncertainty. Like, what if everything collapses? Like, what if the stock market crashes? The housing market crashes? What if these bad things happen because of something that doesn't go my way?
So what you're saying is people want to withdraw because they're afraid of the impact on their portfolio?
Well, they just don't want to move. They're like, okay, I don't want to put more money in now. I don't want to make. Can we make this really safe and then revisit this later?
I mean, there have been a few times where we've had a few clients like, oh, should I go all in cash and this and that? And my father's like, no, that's a, you know.
But I think historically speaking, every time the stock market took a dip, people, I mean, if they withdrew because of that dip in the stock market, wouldn't they then go and invest in something more tangible, something that is considered safe, like real estate?
Sometimes they do that. Sometimes they if they have enough. I know there are a lot of people who survived the 2008 market crash and made some money. Like I've read a lot of people who have made money, and as soon as they were done making money on the crash, because they had bet against the market, they went and put everything in real estate. They're like, I'm done with the financial markets. I am going into like tangible real estate. I'm going to give up like rent for the rest of my life. And because there is that, I think, a sense of this is a real thing. Like a home is like you see it, you touch it, right? The land, you stand on it.
There are always those that have the ability to look at the big picture. Like you just brought up the financial crisis back in 2007, 2008. Sure, the economy was slowed down. It impacted a lot of people. It was a crisis for a lot of economies. But there were also those that took advantage of it, right? Whether it's buying real estate at a low price or stock prices, and that benefited from it because they expected the pendulum to go up again just in a couple of years, and that's exactly what happened, right? And it just shows this perpetual cycle of up and down, ebbs and flows, right? And I think the time we are in right now, this year, with everything that's happening, whether it's global unrest or the election that is just,
it has you on edge.
On the horizon. Well, frankly, just next week. And all the other things that make this year either challenging or a year of opportunity. I think next year we will look back and look at those that took advantage, that make the right decisions. I will have clients that look back on this year thinking, maybe we should have pulled the trigger because the market is slightly different, right? So I always fail to see the one side of things, or I fail to buy into that ultimate decision that this is a bad time to do A, B, and C, right? Doesn't it depend on the circumstances? And the election, I mean, in 4 years we will have another election. Does it really impact your decision right now?
Especially when you don't know, because I think what happens is people, right, there's uncertainty in the sense of, there may sometimes be elections where you know beforehand, okay, yeah, this person is going to win. This is the type where, okay, there is that veil of uncertainty where you're looking at a scenario that's 50-50. And so people are like, okay, and behaviorally, I think we know people that when they've done tests, people have often, the fear of loss overrides the possibility of gain. People will forego the possibility. If you give them like a 50-50 choice, and it's like, you can either, this 50-50 is that you will either, there's a 50% chance that you will gain 100% or 200%, right? And there's a 50% chance you'll lose it all. And so in theory, right, well, that's a go, right? Because I could get 200% gain versus 100% loss, and it's 50-50. The math would tell you take this deal because your potential gain is greater than your potential loss. But almost everyone says, no, I say no to the deal because I would rather lose out on getting 200% in order to avoid the prospect of losing one, the fear of loss. I think those two, like, there will be people who will come back and say, man, I knew that the market would not move in my direction, but I was still afraid of making a bad decision at the time.
Of course. We're all afraid of that. You know, in my job, in real estate, there's this illusion of the right time to buy or to sell a property. And that right time, when will be the right time, I really think it's an illusion. Because if you're waiting right now for interest rates to go down, then when the time is right for you, let's say next year, the home values have increased and you end up spending more. So you have to weigh it against each other.
Exactly, yeah. There's so many movements that occur that you can't predict. So you say, okay, well, this is going to move in my direction, but what if that doesn't? And so they have to, it's hard to keep that big picture, like you were talking about where the economy may be, what are all the things that could happen. Because sometimes I think people get fixated by the news and be like, oh, interest rates. They've been so high for so long. I'm going to wait. They're going to go down. But a lot of other things could happen in the meantime that change that calculus.
Yeah, I think the last few years have shown that, as you said, anything can happen, right? Just events on the global stage that we haven't seen coming. Or on a smaller scale, right?
Even locally.
It doesn't always have to be a global event like the pandemic. Just, sure, locally. And then our area is obviously unique in many regards compared to other areas in the U.S. Sure. But yeah, I think you feel it right now, you know, that the change is in the air. It's a time of transition. I was walking here through the mall this morning, and I can always tell when the season changes, not just by temperature and, you know, leaves falling off the trees, but the city always changes, the flowers in those huge pots on the mall. And they have a new arrangement now. So it feels different.
For the fall. Even the very light feels different. The lighting, how the sunrise looks.
It feels more orangey, which is strange. Maybe it's mental thing with all the pumpkins and everything, but it's, I don't know. Looks like the Today Mañana
pumpkin
logo.
lenses on.
It does. It really does. It has a change. And I think even beyond, right, the election, even like if you were to take that out, there's just a certain sense. Do you find that in the fall people are trying to figure out, trying to weigh, do I do this next year or do I look for something now, even though it is October or November?
Yeah, especially because between the fall market and the early spring market, it's really a slow time. I'm not sure about you guys in your business, but in real estate, we do see a dip in real estate transactions, right? Like Christmas time is typically not when you make those kind of purchases and big decisions, unless you have to move here or move away, sure. But those are personal circumstances. Of course, yeah, it's going to slow down everything, which is nice because it's a different season, right? It's the holidays, it's family time.
Yeah, I think once, especially it's November, starting to November, everyone just kind of wants to slow down on everything they're doing work-wise. And who's like looking for real estate, you know, investing. Everyone's just kind of like, I'm ready for the holidays. November and December's holidays. Exactly. And then I know for us, it's like that's like basically 2 weeks into January is when we get a bunch of traffic.
Exactly.
Everyone's calling. It's like, okay, I got
New Year's resolution. I have
to. You know, it's like they always say, like, you know, like for gyms, it's like they're packed like the first 3 weeks of January. Right. And by February, it's like back to normal. Back to normal. But, you know.
But I mean, have you noticed a shift in mindset beyond the typical fall? You know, this year. I mean, are people really looking that far ahead as far as interest rates, or are they seeing anything locally that's making them say, "Hey, do I need to look at things differently? Look at the real estate market differently?"
It's a good question, but also difficult. I think people are starting to realize that we are no longer in this pandemic market, right? One example, the seller of a house now is facing that new reality. He can't charge the same prices because we see less buyer competition for one house. It just has slowed down a little bit. Let's call it has stabilized a little bit. And to be fair, in our area, that stabilization is less than in others, but on a national level, definitely. So I think, even though I keep saying or talking about this perpetual cycle of up and down, I think we are sensing, and the data is showing, that things are slowing down in the housing market a little bit. What is unique about our area is that there's just a steady influx of people moving here, but also companies making big investments here. Just this morning, we read it in the newspaper, a huge hotel is going to be built right down the street next to the Omni.
Right next to the Omni.
So it just shows there's the demand and there's the confidence in the downtown mall or in the city of Charlottesville or just the greater Charlottesville area, right? And so we will continue to see that steady influx, and as a result, we will continue to see home prices rise in Charlottesville, probably at a higher level than nationwide.
The nationwide,
right?
yeah.
Because it's a relatively hot market compared to others. And so certain things will stabilize, and others are just going to continue to spiral.
Yeah. Well, I always try to explain to people sometimes, is they'll say like, well, there's less buyers per house than there were in the pandemic market. And I always try to tell people, let's say, if you had 6 people bidding on one house in the pandemic, and now you have 2 people interested in the same house. 2 people is less than 6. 2 people doesn't make the price of the house go down. Right? The price of the house isn't going to go down if there's 2 people that are both interested in the house. So there's still, you can have less buyers and still have somewhat of an upward pressure. That kind of, it stabilizes in the sense of it's not as insane, but there isn't really downward pressure in the sense of now suddenly there's 5 houses but only 1 buyer.
Well, let's put it this way. If you have 6 buyers competing for one house, chances are it's going to sell over the asking price, right? And now in this new world that you're describing, you only have 2 buyers competing for the same house. It will still sell over the asking price.
Exactly.
Or at better terms to the seller, right? So less competition, but the result is still
an upward pressure.
Absolutely, yeah. So that shows what you were just saying, definitely.
Yeah. Have you? We touched on this a little bit last time, but I definitely had wanted to ask it of you. Have you noticed, as we have obviously the influx of new people, but then you've also got, definitely there you can see it up 29, Crow's 8 new construction. Have you seen at all any difference between what people can expect looking at new construction homes versus existing homes in terms of the prices moving, what people are seeing, the options out there to them?
Well, I think the answer to that is twofold as well. Our area compared to what's happening nationwide or in the Commonwealth of Virginia. What we have seen during the pandemic in this hot market is just that inventory is tight everywhere, especially here. And the good news was that builders started to build more to address this tight inventory, that demand, of course. But what also happened is we had supply chain issues on a big scale. We had shortage of staff or labor building those new homes, and we had really, really high material costs.
Wood prices were just...
So even though new constructions, or the number of new constructions was higher, the prices were still higher than that, right? So there's always this, you pay for a premium, and that premium continues to go up for new construction. I would say that in Virginia, typically speaking, we can say between 1% and 2% the home values home prices will continue to increase from 2024 to 2025. But here in Charlottesville, it will be much higher.
It'll be higher,
right? And that also applies to new construction, really, just because we are seeing up to $450 a square foot for new construction here for a custom home. And not everyone's building a custom home, sure, but it just shows you how expensive it is to build a new home here in the area. And yeah, there is a disparity between existing home prices and new construction home prices, definitely. And again, we have to look at cost of labor, cost of material. We don't have the same supply chain issues as we had just 2 or 3 years ago. Do you remember the topic of windows? We couldn't get new windows for new construction, and that delayed.
I had friends going using fake wood instead of real wood because real wood was so outrageously expensive that the high end, like not inside the home, but like the high end, like almost like metal railings for if you want to put up a porch and stuff, were cheaper than wood.
And so while we don't have the same supply chain issues anymore, the other factors like the cost of labor and material is still something we face, or that builders face. Now, existing properties compared to new construction, sure, new construction, you will always pay for that premium. So at the end of the day, you're paying for something brand new, so you run into a lower likelihood of having to replace something. It is brand new. But we also need to, in this context, we need to talk about the area and what we saw as a trend during the pandemic. All of a sudden, people wanted to live in more suburban or rural areas. We saw that nationwide, and especially in our area, whether it's east of Charlottesville or west of Charlottesville, especially with the expansion of broadband internet. Nelson County and other counties were developed with fiber internet. And so all of a sudden people can work from a mountain cabin in Nelson County because their work allowed them to work remotely. And so we saw this huge shift. That has an impact on new construction too. So more builders are now focusing on, of course, we saw it in the Crozet area for years, but now also in Greene County, in Nelson County, and then east of town, everything between here and Richmond. So more builders are exploring not necessarily only suburban areas, but rural areas. Right?
Interesting. Just the transformation.
And it is a transformation. Yeah. Just yesterday I saw in a newspaper, they compared Stewart's Draft in Augusta County to Crozet, calling it the new Crozet. And think about it. And then they spoke to a builder that specializes on the Waynesboro, Stewart's Draft, Fishersville area, which is only 30 minutes from Charlottesville. They asked the builder how many of the buyers of new construction that he was building in this development are from Charlottesville, and he said over 50%. So those are the commuters driving up and down 64 every day. And by the way, I drive 64 every day, and I can see the traffic.
The increased traffic.
Just compared to last year, it is very different. I try to avoid 3 p.m. on the interstate right now because it's congested. And it just shows you.
You've had that problem with Crozet, haven't you, recently?
I've noticed that just being on Route 240.
Yeah.
You every morning between basically if you leave just in theory, Crozet to town, especially Ivy Road area, in theory 20-25 minutes.
Right.
If you were to do it on a Sunday morning with nobody on the road, 20-25 minutes. If you leave the house after 8:30, you cannot, because at some point you need to get from Route 240 to Route 250. You cannot go through Crozet. There's only 2 ways to do it. You cannot get there from Crozet Avenue without traffic because the school backs up Crozet Avenue when everyone's trying to make a right to go to the schools. And if you try to go where 240 and 250 meet on that three-way there's a stop sign on Route 240, and that thing just backs up for like a mile. And so it's amazing if you leave, if I leave the house, if you leave the house basically at 8:20, you will be in Ivy Road area. I'll be at our office by 8:45. 25 minutes. If you leave the house at 8:30, you will be at the office at 9:15. It will take you 45 minutes to get there. And it's a difference of 10 minutes, but it's a 20-minute difference in terms of the traffic because of the commute. And you can tell it's everyone leaving at 8:30 to get somewhere at 9. And it's not currently set up to do that.
Doesn't it show you, it feels very different to actually be affected by it and feel how the traffic has increased and the prices of homes have increased compared to just reading it factually on a sheet of paper, right?
Exactly.
So we can see it every day, the influx of people moving here. And while that is great on so many fronts, there are also downsides sometimes that need to be addressed, like traffic, for example.
Well, and rethinking things. I mean, if you have people, like you said, there's the ebbs and flows, but there are like short-term ebbs and flows, and then there's longer-term trend. It's almost like you have little waves, and then you've got big waves. And the big waves change things. And you have to sometimes say, maybe, it's so helpful to have someone like you to help someone navigate and say, okay, I was thinking, this is what I thought it would be like. But that condition in Crozet is no longer what I thought it was. And maybe a different place around town that doesn't have that traffic yet. And I would be willing to trade the commute time for, maybe it's not the original place that I wanted, but to kind of think through those long-term trends and say, all right, there are going to be some things that every spring the market looks like this, and there's going to be some things that spring of 2025 is not going to look like spring of 2022 or spring of 2019. It will be different and you have to look at it in new ways.
Yeah, I moved here over 10 years ago, a little bit over 10 years ago. And in those 10 years, I've seen so much change in the area. It's, I feel like a local now because I talk like them. I complain about the change and all the people moving here, even though I'm one of them.
Who knows?
Matthias, so interesting time.
And it really is. It really is. Kevin Higgins saying UVA Lawn is going to have patched it in with the kids 5 to 7 p.m. today, Halloween-wise.
Oh, good.
So Kevin's watching the show this morning tonight. So send those UVAs doing their thing tonight as well, getting the kids on the lawn.
Family activities for Halloween. That's good. I like it.
So that is good. But Matthias, I always learn so much chatting with you. Just kind of, I think one of the things I think I most appreciate talking with you is you have a very even-keeled view of things. Like you never are swayed, which is I think what people want in an advisor, right? You're never swayed too much by what's happening. You always take the information, and here are different ways that this could go. You're open-minded as to possibilities, where I think a lot of times you can get into the trap of being like, oh, this is definitely going to happen. And you're always there to kind of remind us, well, yes, but this could also happen. Because it's Charlottesville and it's not necessarily the same as national.
Well, I try to mute the German in me. The Germans are very pessimistic and they want to talk everything bad.
But you know what I love about Matthias? So he always says everything very calm. And when we talk about uncertainty, it's like, he's very calm. It's like, I feel more certain now. Like, good things are going to happen than being uncertain, because he's like so calm. It's like, no, it's okay.
It's going to be okay.
Like you could be in a boat and it's like giant waves and Matthias could come and it's okay. We'll be fine. I'm like, I believe it now.
I believe it.
Even though I'm like riding these waves.
Maybe that's the message today. Maybe we can close the show today by saying, everything's going to be okay. It's going to work out.
Hey, don't you believe it?
I believe it now.
I believe it.
Maybe also to those that are so afraid of the election outcome next week, it's going to be okay.
Hello.
No, thanks again for having me. Always good to be here with you.
Always enjoy to catch up. And next week we'll have a great show too. We're gonna have our Molly Littlider from Somali, but like Somali spelled S-E-W. Okay. So she does some sewing. And then Robert and Mella Jones from Leek and Thistle are going to be coming on. So we got some great guests next week. So that'll be a lot of fun.
Leek and Thistle almost sounds like a little Halloween thing, right? Like
Halloween, and then who knows? We'll find out.
You know, we'll find out. Like a cauldron thing.
Definitely very fall theme. I'm feeling. So we're definitely riding with the fall theme. So kudos to Nicholas Urpí for scheduling this, and of course for scheduling Matthias, because we always love having him on, which is always a joy.
And I'll be back in 4 weeks.
Yes, we'll be back. Exactly. We'll be back. We'll go from Halloween to Thanksgiving.
We could dress up as pilgrims for Thanksgiving.
Exactly. Perfect. Love it. So it's been a joy. Been great being on with you.
Happy to be here, Alex.
Always fun. Of course, I always appreciate our fantastic partners, Charlottesville Opera, Matthias Realty, Craddock Serious Insurance, Forward Adelante. Appreciate our presenter, Emergent Financial Services. Appreciate Judah behind the camera, making us all look good, working the magic. Appreciate the I Love CVille Network and the set here. Thank you all for joining us. I think there's one more name I got to read out, because I think we did get joined late in the show by Max Moore. So Max, thanks for tuning in this morning. Always appreciate everyone who tuned in, sent us your questions, comments. We wish you all a really happy Halloween. Make it enjoyable and spooky and fun. We'll be seeing you next week, hopefully. But until that time, as we like to close it out of the show, hasta mañana.